If you've been laid off or you left your company, before you do anything with your 401k, find out all the ins and outs. Call Phillis today, 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496.
For most of you, your Social Security benefit will be the largest retirement asset you have. We'll tell you in just a few minutes about what's at stake with those benefits, but it's important that you make the right decisions with your Social Security. On the show today, you'll learn about the factors you must consider before claiming Social Security and some of the biggest mistakes to avoid. We have a lot to cover today on Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. Thanks so much for joining us today. Jen Rezac here alongside Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. She is the author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. And Phillis, Social Security is where it's at today. Going to have a great discussion of that. I hope all is well with you and the family and your little grandson. I hope everybody's great this week.
Everybody is great. Thank you. And I hope the same for you, Jen.
Yeah, we are all doing good. We are all doing well. And Phillis, want to talk a little bit about Social Security today. The Wall Street Journal says for the typical American household, age 55 to 64, the value of Social Security is 60% of their total retirement assets. So it is the biggest asset a lot of people have, but most of us are mismanaging this because we just pick an arbitrary age and start taking those benefits whenever. What's your take on this? How do you get people to take this seriously when it comes to this decision?
Well, I try to encourage people to understand that this isn't an entitlement. You've worked hard for it. It's your benefit. Whether, in many cases, it's not exactly 60%. It's even more important. But either way, you want to optimize that benefit. And so knee-jerk decisions based upon an emotional decision really can leave holes in your pocket. So it's let's do an analysis. Let's look at everything, all of your situation, not just Social Security in a vacuum, and make the best decision that we can so that you wring out every dollar and cents of your hard-earned money back in Social Security benefits.
Yeah, exactly. And, it just helps that people understand just how big the numbers are. We need to understand just what this could represent. When you look at Phillis, I found an article in Market Watch that talked about just how big the numbers are. A woman with average earnings could give up about $130,000 in retirement benefits if she starts Social Security right at 62 rather than waiting until age 70. And the way they phrase this, kind of like buying a brand new Porsche on the day you retire and just pushing it off a cliff. When you think about, think about what that visual, I think, really speaks to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean delaying your benefits until age 70 is what everybody should do, right? I mean, that's just how the numbers play out. But it doesn't mean we all should wait until 70.
Absolutely not. And here's one of the things, that if you do a simple Social Security report and you want to maximize your benefit, age 70 is going to come out just all the time. You're going to get more money if you live a good period of time, the average life expectancy. You just absolutely will. But here's the key. What else do you have going on? Will, taking your Social Security at 70 bleed out all of your other assets? Will it cause you to take money out of a market asset when the markets may be down? Will you end up paying more tax on your Social Security? So it's not just about getting the higher number. It's not how much you make. It's how much you keep. And I will tell you, just like with everything else in planning, everybody has what I call their own financial DNA. So what I want to encourage you to do is, yes, you want that Social Security report, which, by the way, every advisor can make it look really, really cool and everything else, but we just put in the numbers and push a button and out comes the report. Or you can take it a step further. Number one, don't make emotional decisions. Number two, look at that Social Security Optimizer report. And number three, best yet, is don't look at that in a vacuum. Look at all of your circumstances to make the best decision to optimize those benefits. optimize is the key here. Some people it'll make sense from a tax perspective, from an investment perspective to take the money at 62, or some people will be 70 or somewhere in between, but let the numbers tell the story.
Right.
Period.
Right. Yeah. And I do want to point out when it comes to how big of a decision this is, Phyllis, you have a really great resource on your website. It is a free guide. How can I get the most from my Social Security benefits? It's a Social Security decisions guide. It's a free download. Doesn't take a lot of time to go through it. But as we have this conversation today, this is a good resource that could help you get some of those questions answered and help you think through a little bit about what's going on with your Social Security benefits. Go to pspoffers.com/security to get that. Again, it's a free guide. It has a lot of great information about what you need to be thinking about for when to start claiming those benefits. Again, pspoffers.com/security is where you can get that guide. Now, Social Security obviously is a huge piece of your retirement income puzzle, but it is not the only thing that we want to be thinking about, Phyllis, because I know, for example, issues like taxes is another big thing that we want to be aware of and that we want to be making sure that we are being proactive on. Talk about how that fits in. I mean, not only do we want to be getting Social Security right, but another piece, another pillar of your planning process is making sure that we do things like tax planning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they both fit in tight, close together. One builds on the other. If you take Social Security at the wrong time, you may end up receiving a higher benefit each month, but after taxes, you end up actually taking home less. So that's why you can't look at one thing in a vacuum. But taxes, I say it all the time, Jen, that's probably the biggest area that we can help people save money. And the reason that that's the case is most people look at what they're going to pay at tax time this year, but they're not looking forward as to what their overall tax liability is going to be. So we do a complete planning profile, our retire fit analysis. We're looking at how can we wring out the most from Social Security, wring out every dollar and cents. We're also looking at what's your future tax liability, among many other things, so that we can make well-informed decisions on everything. Again, no knee-jerk decisions. Don't just take Social Security at 62 because, you're worried that they're going to take away your Social Security and you're not going to get what you put in, because unlikely in many cases. And you may, if they don't do that, you could be ripping yourself off on the other end. And don't wait till 70 and end up giving back more of that higher benefit in the form of taxes, because you've also let other accounts rise, which are going to cause more taxes. So look at everything. And it may sound overwhelming, but we take it into bite-sized pieces so that we synthesize what numbers you need to look at, verified numbers, so that you can make a very well-informed decision. And the bottom line is Social Security is a big part of your benefit. And you do want to make a good decision, a great decision, so that those hard-earned dollars that you sacrifice for are back in your pocket and not somewhere else where you might not feel comfortable having it go. So, if you're trying to figure out all these pieces, when do I take my pension? When do I retire? Do I have enough to retire? When do I take Social Security? Am I tax efficient? Do I have a tax bomb in my future? Boy, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. And let's get started on your Retire Fit analysis. We will look at everything individually and then collectively to help you make the best decision. And the cool thing is, again, we're going to synthesize it so that you can make a very easy, clear decision on all these pieces of the puzzle. But it starts with picking up the phone, calling us at 623-792-5496. Again, there's never an obligation to come on in, sit down with me, get some great information. There's no obligation or no cost to move forward. If it's beneficial and we're a good fit, we'll move on to do great things together. And if not, you're going to get some information that you didn't have before, and we're going to wish you well. We always part friends. But without the powerful information, the things you need to know to make a great decision for yourself, broken down so that you don't have to weed through all the crazy numbers, it's hard to make that decision. And just with Social Security, you could be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, not to mention how much you may be leaving with taxes. So 623-792-5496 is the number to call to get the ball rolling, to find out where you're at in relationship to where you want to be.
That number again, 623-792-5496. At the end of the day, Phyllis, we just need to make sure that the money's going to last as long as we need it to last. We have to think about things like getting Social Security right. We have to factor in things like taxes. We also have to think about things like being inflation adjusted here as well. Just want to make the point that there's a lot to consider, and this is why it's good to find a trusted advisor to help us put together a plan.
That's absolutely the case. You know, when we do an income plan for people, we want to make sure that they, first of all, know what they're going to need out of the gates from their portfolios, that they know where to take the money from, when and why, from a tax position, from a risk position. We also want them to be able to see loud and clear where their money, where their raises are coming from, to keep up with inflation, because inflation never sleeps. It just doesn't. We're seeing that now again. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that if, especially if they're married, or even if they're not, if they become, if they need custodial care, that they have leverage on their money and they know where that money is going to come from. So there's no crisis planning. And last, but certainly not least, the biggest question people have on their minds, really, when they get down to it, is my money going to last as long as I could potentially? And with the right proactive planning, we can show people in real numbers exactly how long their money is going to last. What a great way to make a decision for retirement. So where do you want to be in retirement? Where are you to start with? And are there any gaps? How long will my money last? That's what a great plan will do for you. It will show you all of that laid out. And if there are issues that you've got to address, then we move forward to address those. 623-792-5496.
This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
When it comes to your health, it's clear. You consult your doctor. So why not consult a professional when it comes to money? Just like your doctor, the advice you get from a financial advisor can have a direct impact on your quality of life. Are you paying too much in fees with your current financial professional? What could happen to your nest egg if there's a market correction? If you're unsure, it may be time for a second opinion. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is an independent advisor. She doesn't have a boss on Wall Street. Phyllis and her team at PSP & Associates specialize in designing retirement strategies that can allow you to spend more time enjoying life and less time being concerned about your finances. Get your second opinion. 623-792-5496. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus and PSP & Associates can help make sure your golden years are just that. Golden. 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus is also a licensed insurance agent in the state of Arizona.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I'm Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP & Associates. She is the author of the book, Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. And we do, Phyllis, have some good news to share as it relates to retirement planning. The number of protected households in the U.S. is on the rise. That's according to the Alliance for Lifetime Income's Protected Lifetime Income Study. So that is good news. It's up to about 40% of households now. And Phyllis, when we talk about protected households, we're talking about families who have something like a pension or an annuity to supplement what they're going to get from Social Security in retirement. Can you just talk about why it's so important that we find a way to get that protected income in retirement?
Absolutely. We all know that Social Security isn't going to be enough to retire comfortably. And after working so many years, so hard, you want more than that. And the thing is that most people, since pensions have been on the decline, most people lose their paycheck. I don't know why it stops when you leave work, right? But it does. And you've been your own pension manager for many years inside of your 401k or your IRA or your investments. And you've been in the accumulation phase. And all of a sudden, you've got to turn that into a paycheck. And here's how most people are taught to do it. Take a percentage of that money. Let me show you. Let me just walk you through why it is so critical to think about this and maybe not do it that way and have some income that's going to come in, rain, snow, or sleep. Let's go back to March of 2020 and what happened. In 21 days, the most precipitous drop in the market of 30% occurred in the shortest period of time. The S&P went down 30%. So let's just use this example. Let's say that you were the typical retiree and you had about $750,000 in the market. February were the highs of the market. You were doing fantastic. And then all of a sudden, in the month of March, that typical portfolio went down 30%. In the blink of an eye, you lost $225,000 of that $750,000.
Jeez, wow.
That's huge, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we all know that the market came right back, but there've been plenty of times that it didn't. Okay. And if you stayed, this was one time, if you did nothing, you were better off. But if you were like so many people and you went to cash or whatever the case was, you realized that loss. So let's take it a step further. What does that really represent? Let's say you're like the typical person who's just working, doesn't really have a plan other than I'm going to take a certain percentage out of the nice nest egg that I have and I'll be fine. So in this case, let's say you're off your $750,000, you're thinking, I'm going to take $40,000 a year. Do you realize that $225,000 loss in such a short period of time represents over 5 years of income? Now, you've worked hard. It probably took you 10 years to accumulate that $225,000. And in the blink of an eye, that vanished. What do you do then? You're retired. What do you do then? Well, what you do is not risk what you can't afford to lose. That's why it is so important to have a written income plan that shows you how much you need, when you're going to get it, how you're going to get raises, how long your money is going to last. Simple, laid out for you. That's part of our Retire Fit analysis. We're going to look at what is your plan for income. What is your plan? Bring in that written income plan. It should be simple. It shouldn't be a pile of paper, and it shouldn't be hoping that the market does something. Let's have a concrete income plan so that if something like that comes along, you're in control. I've just got to share this. When the market went down like that, first thing that we did, and the pandemic hit, of course, that's why it went down. First thing we did is we manned everybody on my team, got on the phone and talked to our wonderful clients, picked up the phone. We were talking to them all the time. And it wasn't so much that we were panicked or that they were panicked. It was more we wanted to see how they were doing. And we also wanted to remind them that if there was any, concern, that they had a plan, that the money that they couldn't afford to risk is they were in control. They weren't risking that money. And those were some of the greatest conversations that, we've had in a long time, during an awful time when other people, radio listeners that were calling, friends of our clients who were calling, were not in that position. That's the power of having an income plan. And some of that income plan has got to be protected income, making the right decisions on your Social Security, making the right pension decisions. And if you don't have a pension, making sure that you have a plan set up and there's concrete ways to do it that will get you the income you need, whether the market is up, down, or sideways. And again, our Retire Fit analysis, one of the key components, one of the key questions that people ask us when they come in, do I have enough money to retire? And how long will our money last? Are we going to outlive our money? Retire Fit analysis will show you that concretely And if there are any gaps in that and you want our help, we'll build a customized retirement income plan with you that will show you in a few sheets of paper. This is what it does. The answers to all those questions. How much income am I going to have? When's it going to start? What order am I going to take it from? How long will it last? How will I get raises? What will happen if, you're married and a spouse passes away? How will the income kick up? It'll be very simple plan in front of you. And what that will do is it'll give you back control during a chaotic time. It'll give you confidence that you can enjoy your retirement and ultimately comfort. So I really encourage you to pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. Let's start with a conversation, see what's on your mind. I'll let you know whether I can help you. I certainly, by just putting the facts in front of you, whether we ever move forward or not, you'll be more in control than you are today. 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. I'm Jen Rezac alongside. And gosh, Phillis, when you go through the numbers, it is just eye-opening. We have to understand the challenges if our retirement income is maybe money instead of this protected income. I know this is something that you've talked about before. None of us would agree to a job if our boss told us, well, tell you what, here's what you're going to make if the markets are doing well, but here's what's going to happen to your paycheck if the markets are going down. None of us would accept that in our career, and yet it seems as if we're accepting that when it comes to what's going on with our retirement.
Absolutely. And you know what? Very wealthy people are accepting that. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way we've grown accustomed during the accumulation phase. Let's grow it, grow it, grow it, grow it, grow it. And a lot of people don't take the time. That's why we're strategists. We take the time to educate people on all the things that change once that paycheck stops and how important it is to have that steady flow of cash flow in retirement. Because without cash flow that's reliable, there is no strong, comfortable retirement. Really, 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 really important.
Right. And it's just important that we understand exactly what is happening, because the reality is, Phyllis, I said at the beginning of this segment, 40% of households have protected income, which is great, but that does mean 60% of households don't. So there's a lot that needs to be done here as far as making sure that our income is going to be okay. A lot of people still need to get this done. And we don't want to forget that Social Security is still a big part of this discussion on retirement income. I know when we talk about protected income, we're talking about things to supplement Social Security, but talk about how we need to think about our entire income picture before we decide when to start turning on those benefits, because that's another part of what you do, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, Social Security, let's not undermine it. It's money that comes in. You're not going to throw it away. Okay. It's not all of your retirement, but it can be, a nice chunk of it. So making a knee-jerk decision, like taking Social Security in a vacuum. I'm 62. I'm worried that Social Security is going to go away, so I'm going to take it now. Or taking it at 70 and running out of money, your cash by the time you get there because you didn't have enough income, to get you there. It doesn't make sense either. So don't make a decision for Social Security in a vacuum. We don't want to just maximize it. We want to optimize that benefit. And we have to look at everything else that you have, all the other sources of reliable income, when you're getting them, how much, the best way to take them, and what your taxes are going to look like now, later. What's your tax diversification? So in the whole context of a plan, a very important piece of that for your income plan is how to optimize Social Security, how to wring out every dollar and cents of that hard-earned money that you put in. And I want to speak to this, okay? I know that there's a lot of families who don't have protected income. And when you read that statistic, maybe somebody listening's thinking, well, that's not me. I've saved quite a bit of money. I don't necessarily need that protected income. I'm going to challenge you to really get the facts in front of you, because more often than not, your lifestyle, you're going to spend more than a person who has less. So you've worked hard to build up that money. And you need more protected income than you may think. So the first step is get the facts in front of you. Make well-informed decision based upon how much income you need when and how much you have coming in reliable. We call it a security income score. We'll figure out what it's going to cost you to finance your lifetime and how much of that's going to come from reliable, guaranteed sources, whether the market's up, down, or sideways, whether taxes are high or low. And that's how you figure out whether you're in good shape. 623-792-5496. Let's get the conversation started, whether it's over the phone, whether it's via Zoom, whether you want to come on in. We're here to really help you take back control of your retirement.
623-792-5496 is that number again. That's 623-792-5496. As we've been talking today, the number of people with protected retirement income is on the rise. That is good news, but it's not all of the story. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us today on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I'm Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. She is author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, talking today about the Alliance for Lifetime Income's Protected Lifetime Income Study. And as we've discussed, the number of households with a source of protected income, something like an annuity or a pension, is on the rise. So that's great. But the study also shows only about a third of pre-retirees have calculated their monthly expenses and financial needs in retirement. A lot of people are overestimating what their savings will actually cover, and 3 out of 4 Americans do not have a specific financial plan. So there's some work to be done here, Phyllis.
Ouch.
Right?
Ouch. I say ouch.
Yeah. So let's start with why it's important to figure out your monthly expenses before you retire. How do you approach this?
Well, it's really important to make sure you understand what you want your lifestyle to look like. Let's just say that you just have an idea. You think it's going to be this. It's going to be less. We can go ahead and retire. And then you retire and find out, wait a minute, we didn't figure this, this, and this. Well, what do you do every day? Watch TV? I mean, you worked your entire life. You want to make sure that the retirement that you've dreamed of or you wanted in your lifestyle, you can afford it. And the way to figure that out is to lay things out realistically. The absolute bills that you have, the high dreams, the things you'd love to do if you could, your bucket list, and the things that are non-negotiables. Things you like. Some people, they want to golf. I had one couple, they were so cute. We want to golf every single Friday night together and then go out to dinner. That's our date night. We've always had it. We always will. We want to go to fancy golf places. And that was a good conversation. We had to figure that in. The thing is, if you have a realistic budget on the front end, your absolute bills that you have, your non-negotiables, your negotiables, and you lay it out, then we can back into the numbers and we can understand, do you have enough inflation adjusted to maintain your lifestyle? And if you see, geez, I'm going to run out of money or there's just not enough, well, then you can make a decision together. Do we want to cut back on some of this? Or do we want to work longer? Do we want to work part-time? You have choices, but once you just retire and what you have is finite, you don't really get a do-over. You don't want to go back to work. You may not even be able to go back and be gainfully employed. So on the front end, it is very important to do that dirty word, the budget. But it's a fun budget in retirement. It should be. It should be things you want to do. And a lot of times people they just don't think through the whole process. Like, I want to travel. Well, what does travel look like for you? It's not my first rodeo. So we take a lot of time. Some people's idea of travel is wonderful. They want to rent an RV, they're going to stay in the RV, or they're going to buy an RV. That's not as expensive as someone who wants to go to 4-star and 5 stars, right? Hotels
Right.
and travel first class. So we got to lay all of that out and then build a plan around that. Really, really, really important.
And the other thing that goes with that when we're talking about understanding what we're spending our money on and how we like to spend money, another key finding is that people are overestimating what their savings will cover. They don't have a good handle on this. And I think, Phyllis, anybody who's ever tried to track calories can relate to this. I underestimate the calories that are in the donut, and then I overestimate how many calories I'm burning on my jog, and then the math never adds up.
Please.
And we just can't do that with our money, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'll say, I know calories. I'll just, this is what I've got. And then eventually, when things are not moving in the right direction, I say, well, let me write this down. And let me look it up. There's plenty of apps, and boy, it's way off. And that's the same thing. That's a very good analogy. That's the same thing. And I see two camps. I see people who think they're going to spend far less than they're going to spend in retirement, or people who, so they retire and find out that they spend more than they think, or the other way around. I mean, it's one or the other. So let's be crystal clear. Verified numbers don't hurt. And that's our first step in our proprietary process, the Retire Fit process. We'll walk through what that looks like. We'll prod and probe to really figure out once every day is Saturday what that looks like for you, what it's going to cost you. And then we'll show you, what it's going to cost to finance your life. And do you have enough? Get those numbers in front on the front end instead of the back end.
Yeah, you just have to have a handle on it. And the other stat here, Phyllis, that stood out to me, 3 out of 4 Americans still don't have a specific financial plan. And, I'm guessing a lot of people aren't even sure what we mean when we talk about having that plan for retirement. Can you just talk about what goes into that comprehensive retirement strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. And that number just hurts. What can I say?
Yeah.
So you have a retirement plan when you have that budget. Okay. When you know what it's going to cost you to retire, you have an income plan that shows you how long your money's going to last, where you're going to get your money from, when you're going to get it, where you're going to get raises from, where that extra money is going to come in if there's a healthcare crisis, where you're going to get that extra money if one or the other passes away. You should have a written income plan that addresses those questions, a couple pages, easy to look at, easy to see, a lot of work on the back end, but once you've got it, simple, Simon Says, okay? And income that comes in, whether the market's up, down, or sideways, reliable streams of income, just like your paycheck that you wouldn't let your boss risk in the market. Same thing. That's really important. So what do you need for income as part of our process? What do you need and what do you want for income? What do you have coming in? Are there any gaps? Do you have a written income plan that's solid? That's so important. You need an investment strategy. That investment strategy starts with, okay, how much risk am I actually taking? What's happening in my portfolio right now? I'm going to tell you, if I had a nickel for every time somebody was just shocked by how much risk they were taking and they thought that they were in a more conservative portfolio. So one thing that we always do, to me, it's an imperative, is we take your portfolio and we put it into a stress test and we tell you in real verified numbers, how your portfolio is going to work in a good market, in a bad market, in an average market, and in a fabulous market, and put those dollars in front of you so that you can make a well-informed decision about what's appropriate for you. So that's part of a really good plan. Understand your risk and then build a plan with the appropriate amount of risk for you, from a perspective of how much risk you're comfortable with to a realistic perspective of how much risk you can actually take in your circumstances. Taxes. Oh, here we go, right? The redheaded stepchild. I see people all the time. They have some sort of an income plan. Maybe it's not what I would have. They have, they have a good idea of how much risk they're taking, but they have no concept of what their future tax liability is, what it's going to cost them in taxes in the future. And what a lost opportunity, especially in a rising tax rate environment. So really, if you have a plan, you have an analysis of what your future tax liability is going to cost. You know what it's going to cost you throughout your lifetime in taxes, based upon the tax rates today, based upon assumptions of them going up. And then you can back into it and control your taxes. Because I don't know if you know this, but Uncle Sam, he's really not your uncle. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that you pay your fair amount of taxes, no more than that. Okay. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we have a healthcare strategy. The costs of healthcare are exponential. Do we have enough figured out in our budget? We're going to show you what it will cost at different points in your lifetime. To, if there's a health crisis for you, if you need custodial care, what it would cost for a Medicare supplement, all of that, we'll figure out how that impacts your plan. And then we'll go through the estate planning. We're not attorneys, just like we're not accountants, but we're strategists. So what we'll show you is the impact of not having the right beneficiaries, not having the right documents to protect yourself if you become incapacitated. We look at all of these pieces together, and at the end of the day, you should have a very simple, concise, written plan in your hands that's your guide, and then we monitor it. That's what an income plan is. That's what a retirement income plan is, and it should be customized for you. So if you don't have that written budget, you don't have that written income plan that's easy to read, an investment strategy that's written, a plan that takes into account healthcare problems and where the money is going to come from then, and you don't have an estate plan, you're not sure you have all the beneficiaries and, and all the important documents, you don't have a retirement plan. And did I leave out tax strategy? I might have.
I can't believe
That's
you
the
did.
most important in my opinion,
huge.
because if you don't have a tax strategy, you're volunteering to put dollars in somebody else's pocket that you've worked hard for. That's a retire fit analysis. That's what I really believe. You should pick up the phone now and get that information. Make sure you have it in place. Take back control so you can have a comfortable retirement and retire with confidence. The number to call to get started on that, 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. Look, if you're sitting there and you think you have all these things in place, no obligation, it's complimentary. Come on in and make sure that that's true. All I'm going to do is verify that for you with facts behind it. If you haven't started, when better to start than today? It's never too late. Let's do it today. And, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, come on in and let us just make sure you have all your pieces in place and you go on your way and live your life independently on your own terms. We're here to help you. And it all starts with a plan. 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. I'm Jen Rezac alongside that number one more time, 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. Retire Financially Fit with Phillis continues in just a moment. Stay with us.
When it comes to your health, it's clear. You consult your doctor. So why not consult a professional when it comes to money? Just like your doctor, the advice you get from a financial advisor can have a direct impact on your quality of life. Are you paying too much in fees with your current financial professional? What could happen to your nest egg if there's a market correction? If you're unsure, it may be time for a second opinion. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is an independent advisor. She doesn't have a boss on Wall Street. Phillis and her team at PSP & Associates specialize in designing retirement strategies that can allow you to spend more time enjoying life and less time being concerned about your finances. Get your second opinion. 623-792-5496. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus and PSP & Associates can help make sure your golden years are just that. Golden. 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is also a licensed insurance agent in the state of Arizona.
Is your retirement plan ready for the long haul? Get a second opinion today from Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. Just call 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. I am Jen Rezac. Happy to be here today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP & Associates. She is author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, and she gets questions from people all the time about all things retirement. So we're going to spend a little time here in this last part of the show finding out some of those commonly asked retirement questions. We'll hear some of them, and then we'll get some answers from you, Phillis. So if you are game, I have a question from Dennis for you.
Bring it to me, Dennis.
All right, here we go. Here is Dennis's question, and we'll just get your response here in just a second.
So I'm thinking about buying an annuity with some of my retirement savings, but I'm really nervous about losing control of my money. If I'm nervous about it, does it still make sense?
Well, Dennis, really good question. So here's what I would say to you. I want you to be, before you do anything, you should be cautiously optimistic, meaning that you really understand what's happening with your money and why you're doing it. So the fact that you're nervous means that you probably don't have enough information to make a well-informed decision. Now, the idea that you're concerned about giving up control of your money, if you have a properly structured retirement plan, some of your money is meant to be long-term foundational money. I always equate it to building a house, right? You're building your fiscal house now. When you build a house, the strongest part of the house is the foundation. You don't ever dig that up. Very few. I've never met a person who's dug it up, right? No. I'm sure there's one out there. Same thing with your long-term money that's going to provide you with income. Maybe there's a piece of that that's long-term. It's the last place you would go to get money. So the fact that you can't access it without a penalty might not be a big deal, okay? But it sounds to me like someone wants you to buy a product, or you're looking to buy a product and you don't have an overall plan. Because if and when it's appropriate to recommend an annuity, it's as part of a plan. And I don't believe that, nervous people should just jump on it without understanding the overall plan. And when we do that, I'd like to believe that people have confidence in what they're doing, and they're not concerned if they're giving up control of one piece of their money because they know where else they're going to go. Mm-hmm. So get clarification, Dennis. Don't do it until you understand the overall plan, because an annuity is not the panacea. A stock's not the panacea. The plan's the panacea, how you put it all together. I do like the fact that you said some of my retirement savings, because don't ever, ever, ever put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, good point, and good question, Dennis. We appreciate you asking that one today. We've gone out, we've found out some of those commonly asked retirement questions, and we're getting some answers here from Phillis during the show today. Our next question comes from Dan, and I'll just let Dan ask the question.
Is there a good rule of thumb for how much of my IRA should be in safe investments when I turn 60, or is it more just a matter of personal preference?
Good question, Dan. And I wouldn't say it's a matter of personal preference. unless you have a plan laid out. Okay. So in other words, how much risk you're comfortable with, that's one factor to consider. But just because you're a high risk taker, if the numbers don't play out, it doesn't matter how much you're comfortable with. If you lose it, you won't be comfortable. So is there a general rule of thumb? Well, Vanguard, Jack Bogle came out with a rule of thumb years ago, the rule of 100. Take 100, subtract your age from it, whatever's left over is probably the max that you should have in the market. I don't use general rules. It's a place to start. If you have a lot more than that, I hope you just take a second and say, well, wait a minute, maybe I ought to rethink this, okay? But everybody has what we call their own financial DNA, their own set of circumstances, and we customize according to that. So you want to be less risky. If you were very risky during your accumulation phase and you accumulated a lot of money, you probably want to be less risky because you don't have time on your side for all of your money. Your overall blend is going to be less, but is there a hard number? Really, it depends upon your circumstances. That's what the Retire Fit analysis, our process, will guide you through. Very good question. Make sure you have a plan first versus just, an allocation, 60-40, 40-60, any of those numbers. That's my advice to you. Get more clarification and really adjust it to your personal circumstances. Hope that helps, Dan.
Yes, and a good place to get that clarification, pick up the phone, give Phyllis a call, 623-792-5496. These kinds of questions, this is what the Retire Fit analysis is really all about, is helping get to the bottom of what's going on with your money, what makes sense for you and your personal situation and your circumstances, because that's different for everybody. So 623-792-5496 is that number. Phyllis, let's go on to our next question. This is from Terry, and this is a big one, so I'll let Terry ask the question.
I have a question about taxes. Is there really a way to have a tax-free retirement, or is that just a gimmick?
Oh, Terry, great question. Do you have 2 days? No. Seriously, Terry, I wouldn't say it's a gimmick, okay? So especially the younger you start, the more likely that you can just really have a tax-free retirement. Put things in Roth 401ks, put things in Roth, properly structured life insurance. You really can you can structure it that way. But if I'm meeting somebody who's a year or so away from retirement, or they're already retired and they've got all this pre-tax money, yeah, you could have a tax-free retirement by paying the taxes, a lot of money up front to get it totally tax-free later on. But might it not be practical? Can you believe I'm saying this, Jen? What we have to do is we want to get you tax efficient. Okay. It doesn't have to be all or nothing depending upon your age, okay, and how much you have in these pre-tax accounts. What we have to do is really do an analysis that will show you your future taxation, real rates, money, how much is it really going to cost you in your retirement account? Look at the long end of it. Look at what it's going to cost your beneficiaries if that's important to you. Look at the tax bill and then back into it and get you more tax efficient. So I would say, yes, it's not a gimmick. You can get entirely tax-free. Some instances, getting entirely tax-free will be too cost prohibitive on the front end. But I can tell you this, everybody, well, almost everybody, most everybody can get tax efficient. We help people save lots of money by bringing into the planning the redheaded stepchild, tax savings. There is something you can usually always do to get more efficient. And we'd love to help you with that. If you're asking this question, you're in the right direction, but get the facts before you make leaps and bounds. It's not an all or nothing proposition, Terry. Look at the end in mind and back into it. And feel free to pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. This is my forte. Tax planning, redheaded stepchild, ignoring that will cost you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And by really looking at the information, by really doing the planning, we can help you save a lot. 623-792-5496.
All right, great question, Terry. Appreciate you asking that one. Talking with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She's founder and president of PSP and Associates, and we are just going over some of those commonly asked retirement questions, because I'm guessing if these folks have these questions, you have something pretty similar as well. You probably have the same question, so that's why we're taking some time to answer them here on the show today. Our last one, Phyllis, comes from Bruce, and here is his question.
What's your opinion of making money off of rental properties in retirement? I see a lot of houses I can buy for $80,000 to $100,000, turn them around as rentals. I can work on them and help and fix them up pretty good. I mean, I'm 68, my wife is too, but she doesn't like the idea. What do you think?
Well, Bruce, I got to say this. You set yourself up for this. First of all, a happy wife is a happy life. No,
start there.
No, I'm just kidding, Bruce. But here's the thing. To say an investment is good or bad, that's why my voice is hoarse. I hear other people talking about this investment is good or bad. That's not appropriate. To say an investment is good or bad. It's either appropriate for you and your set of circumstances or it's not. All jokes aside, you both have to consider, whether it's appropriate for you together, because you're a team. That's number one. Number two, does it make sense for you in your situation? Well, let's look at all the other assets that you have. If we just look at your return on investment, real estate could be a good thing. It could be a good thing, but we got to look at the tax consequences of what that does to you. We've got to look at whether you have the cash flow available if you can't rent it. We got to look at whether, if you need liquidity, what if the market does what it does in 2008? So could it be a good investment if you make 5 to 6% on your money safely? You've got a long-term investor and you're comfortable with the real estate. Yeah, it absolutely can. But is it appropriate for you in your circumstances? Your wife's inclination is good. Stop. Let's vet this more. No knee-jerk decisions. I'd love to help you. And I'm not going to say good or bad. I'm going to say I'm glad you're thinking about investments, but build the plan first and then plug in the tools that are going to work best for you for a number of reasons. Call us, 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. In your particular circumstances, Bruce, we'll look at the pros and cons and strings attached, but not just an investment in a vacuum, the whole overall picture together to help you make the best decision for you and your lovely wife. Hope that helps.
That's right. And just don't forget, happy wife, happy life. Always start there.
Always so true.
This has been Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. Make sure you remember that number that Phyllis just shared today, 623-792-5496. We hope you tune in again next week to hear some more insights from Phyllis. We'll be back then. I am Jen Rezac. We're so glad you spent some time with us here today. We hope you have a great week. We hope you stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you next time. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. PSP Financial Services is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. PSP Financial Services, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S.